heart has its own intrinsic nervous system, which can sense, feel, remember, and process information that's independent from the brain.
We always think of the information input system as being entirely in the brain. But we're now discovering information that the heart receives information first and then relays it to the brain.
And welcome back to another exciting episode of the Escape Pod, where we hope to go beyond limitations and expand the boundaries of your mind. But before I go any further, please hit that subscribe button, press like, share this video with whomever, wherever, whatever. We don't care. Today's going to be another exciting episode. Like every time is an exciting episode, because you know what? We like to throw some shit out there for you guys just to dabble with or think or just to ponder on. And today's a pretty good episode. We're going to be talking about the heart. No, I'm not talking about Valentine's Day or the Heart Foundation from wrestling. I'm talking about the science and psychology of the heart itself. So without further ado, Sean, what's your thoughts on the heart?
All right. So since we were kids, since we were in school, right, we've been taught and we've been led to believe that the heart is simply just a muscle that pumps blood. Although that's extremely important because we need blood to survive and it goes to all the organs, and without blood, we die, of course. It is the liquid of life within our body. However, we've been led to believe and taught that the brain does all the thinking, that the brain is the intelligence of our body. And that's just not true. Science and continuous new studies have shown that it's the heart. It's not the brain. The heart actually gets the information first. It receives it. Then it tells the brain what to do. And then the brain goes and sends out the signals throughout the body. It's absolutely fascinating. Here, I'll give a few actual statistics and facts. One, the heart has over 50% of neural cells. That's right, over 50% of the heart cells is neural. That goes to a neural network. It also has its own consciousness. I mean, the heart thinks on its own independently. It remembers, it feels, it thinks. Like, a perfect example is, there've been studies done by a lot of heart doctors that have found out that even they've been interviewing people who've had transplants, heart transplants from another individual, and that once they put the heart into, the patient, the recipient, that recipient actually has the previous heart owner's memories of their life, their instincts, their emotions, their fears, their wants, their desires, their habits. It passes on. That's why it actually remembers. It's its own brain.
Professor Paul Pearsall is a cardioneurologist from the University of Honolulu. He first encountered stories like Claire's whilst recovering in hospital from a bone marrow transplant.
I had a bone marrow transplant for stage 4 cancer in the very early 80s. And I was on the transplant unit, and we would sit down at night, all of us who were dying, and most of us were, and talk about things. And the heart transplant recipients were reporting receiving the memories, feelings, food preferences, fears, musical preferences of their donor. One woman who got the heart of a boxer was the most quiet, demure, easygoing woman, hated violence, left the room when her husband would watch football. She's got this heart of the boxer, now she watches football and yells and swears and punches and everything. So that's when I started hearing all these remarkable stories, and I started to collect every single one I could.
Could the transplanted heart be bringing with it some kind of information from its previous owner? We know that the heart is a hugely energetic organ and is in constant communication with the brain. 40,000 neurons, or nerve cells in the heart, communicate up to the brain. Hormones from the heart travel in our bloodstream, and every time the heart beats, it creates a pulse wave. But most impressive of all is our heart's magnetic energy, 5,000 times more powerful than the brain. It can be measured up to 6 feet away from our bodies.
I thought, this heart is just as powerful, more powerful, and does talk to the brain. Maybe we should be paying attention to that. Maybe the brain, even though it thinks it's us, isn't.
Also, it has over 40,000 neurons. Its magnetic field, the heart, is 5,000 times stronger than the brain. I think people have to understand that it's so intelligent and it's so key to everything of our body that it's the first organ that's created when we're being born. And from the heart being created first, it then helps create the rest of the body and every other organ. So I think it's just mind-blowing that all our life is like, oh, the heart's just a muscle, and then the brain does all the thinking. No, it's the other way around. Heart, brain, then it sends the signals out. And the heart also, it actually tells us what to do. You know, it deals with our emotions, everything. It really, that's why when they say, follow your heart, or, you know, think with your heart, it sounds like something out of Valentine's or a Hallmark card. It's not. It is a unifier. It doesn't have a left and right, or right and left hemisphere, or whatever, east and west, whatever it's called. I'm not a neurologist. But it just is one organ that connects everything together. It's just a unifier. And it blows my mind, because I really didn't know that. And just reading up on it, it makes a lot of sense now. You know, when you can start thinking with your heart, because I mean, they always talk about thinking. It's really feeling. I think when you think and then you feel at the same time, I think that's real intelligence, you know, and it's balancing the body as well. And that's why whenever you're in a state of happiness, everything seems good. Talking about that field that is 5,000 times stronger, the magnetic field that actually extends outside the body from the heart. What we think, how we feel, if we're happy and we're just having a blast and you're coming into a room, people notice that. You get that kind of that feeling, that sixth sense. It starts to affect the reality around you. That's what scientists have been actually discovering. If you come into a room and your magnetic field is just lit, I think that might be called a toroidal field. I could be wrong. Let me know in the comments below. But that can affect the room around you. That's why it's like, man, that guy's really happy. Then it starts to attract people to you, you know. And same thing when you're angry. You know, when you come in the room, geez, what's wrong with that guy or girl, right? Oh, nobody wants to be wrong. So really, how our emotions, with extending outside of that field with the heart, it actually affects our environment around us and others around us. So I get it. You know, when they say, you know, it's funny because Bruce Lee in that movie Enter the Dragon, don't think, feel. It makes a lot of sense.
The heart generates by far the largest rhythmic electromagnetic field produced in the body. And what we've now found is that if we look at the spectrum analysis of the magnetic field radiated by the heart, that emotional information is actually encoded and modulating into those fields. So by learning to shift our emotions, that's changing the information we're encoding into the magnetic fields radiated by the heart, and that can impact those around us. We are fundamentally and deeply interconnected with each other and the planet itself, and what we do individually really does count and matters.
I'm going to hand it over to Justin. I'm actually stoked about this.
No, it's all really interesting stuff. I mean, see, I don't know the sciences from where Sean is talking about, but I do understand it from a personal development and professional development standpoint because of my background in psychology. You know, with my degrees in psychology, I'm not a therapist, but I have studied both the science part of psychology and the theory part, which is presented at times through personal development speakers. And the central theme of personal development speaking that you hear from every guru, which kind of oddly now because of this whole COVID-19 thing, you rarely see these guys talking now. They've lost the motivation to talk and to spill the positive insanity. But the central theme is the mindset. they feel that if you have the correct mindset, that the possibilities are endless, that you can do anything, be anything, create anything. And that's not true. It's half of the equation. What the mindset really is just the thinking portion. It's the reel of a movie or whatever else where the picture feeds through. But in order for it to become life, become whatever, it involves the heart. It involves the heart and how you feel about it, because the heart in itself is the engine. It's the catalyst that pushes and keeps pushing your mind and your thinking. Like I said, Sean's taking it from the science perspective and an analytical perspective. I'm looking at it from a personal development perspective. If your heart and mind are not in the same spot, as a certain friend of ours says, Pono, if they're not comfortable with each other and they're not connected, okay, it's never going to get you to where you need to get to. That's why they always say follow your heart. How many songs have we heard from the 80s through the 90s, through our generation, where everything was about the heart? Hell, they had a group called Heart back in the day. And it is very true, because no matter what, in medically, if your heart gives out, you're done. Right? What can give your heart out? Stress, heart attack, all these different things. Perfect example. Since we're talking about the heart, we're talking about love and all this shit. What happens when you have a bad breakup? You feel heartbroken, which is absolutely true, because yes, your mindset gets you thinking about things and gets you kind of focused. Your heart does push you towards that, but it's a totality thing, because all of that drives your physiology. All of that drives your actions. And if your heart is broken, your mind starts to compound that and multiply that. And next thing you know, your body is reacting to that, because your heart is saying, fuck, I'm hurt. Your body starts to go from this to drooping, and you're playing sad songs. It makes it worse. You can't eat. All those things. So you have to, because I can go on this for days, but you have to keep track of your heart and how you're thinking with your heart, because your heart is basically your gut. That is, when people say, hey, trust your gut, what they're really saying is trust your heart, because your heart is what feeds your gut. It's what feeds, like I said, your physiology. If your heart is saying, you know what, this might not be the best situation for me, listen to your heart. You know, hey, you know what, I kind of like this girl, but I kind of think she's a douchebag, whatever else. Well, follow your heart. You know, your heart will not lie to you. And I think, honestly, you know, 90% of the time it's correct. Just like how, let's say when you're trying to figure out people in general, if they're good or bad, your heart will tell you. Your heart will start to question things, because that's another big thing about personal development. They tell you to ask questions. You can ask all the questions you want, but if you don't feel it here, you're not asking the right questions. You see? So keep track of your heart along with your mindset, because those two things is what pushes your physiology. If you get all that down, you get the pyramid down, you'll live a better life. I mean, you might live a longer life. And I think, like what Sean was saying too, you know, if you take into account how you eat, how you sleep, how you think, those three things affect your heart. That's the anchor. So make the lifestyle changes you need, you know, and follow your heart and chase a better life. But, you know, from my end, that's all I've got. Sean, you got anything else?
No, brother. Hit it right on the dot.
Yeah, so I mean, if you guys got any questions about this topic, whatever else, like I said, we're taking it from two different perspectives here. And I know we're just, you know, lightly touching upon it and scratching the surface, but it's because the topics we discuss, we're able to go in depth if we have to, but it's not really worth it for you guys to find value in it with us pulling your ear too far that you don't want to listen to something. So if you guys want us to expound upon a project or whatever we've just talked about, please leave a comment, and also to hit the subscribe button, but leave a comment and we'll address it. We'll get back to it, right? But yeah, we thank you again for watching us. We appreciate it. And I hope this kind of helps, and I hope it kind of piques your curiosity. And until next time, we'll see you when we see you.